Starry-eyed rumblings.
Taking a closer look at the severed hand, all but the index finger are broken and dangling downwards. The index finger points to a file that is titled Sequence 12. From the file, Helix Bane gathers this was the subject of an experiment on the research vessel. An experiment that introduced spliced DNA, along with several new glands and vessels throughout the subject's body. The Sequence 12 file, stuck on the wall, is circled over and over again in dark red paint. A shadow enters the room, and Helix Bane slowly and carefully repositions herself to completely break line of sight from her and the entrance. She takes a moment to focus on her hands and feet and begins to feel hot, thick, sizzling liquid push its way through her vessels. The feeling is similar to the cold flow one feels when being injected with anesthetic before an operation. The cold liquid being pumped into the veins, then slowly creeping its way along. The major difference here is the cold is replaced with a burning sensation. The liquid moves through one vessel, meets with another, and enters a third vessel, and finally oozes out of the stretched pores on Helix Bane's hands and feet in a thick, bubbling, red-blue ooze. Perhaps Helix Bane peers around the corner and sees an empty doorway. Seeing an unobserved opening, she immediately moves to the closest wall. Without breaking stride, she places a hand and foot on the wall and begins to climb up. She climbs up the wall, onto the ceiling, and then moves stealthily and quickly towards the entrance, the ooze allowing her to stick and peel herself off the wall. In Helix Bane's experience, people look up last. She is almost at the door when she sees a shape look around the corner and into the room. Helix Bane doesn't stop, but moves more slowly, getting nearer to her prey. There is no sign from the figure that they are aware of Helix Bane's presence. But then the figure tilts its head up, and Helix Bane, despite being 2 meters short of the optimal position, prepares to leap. However, it seems the figure hasn't spotted Helix Bane yet, and simply tilts its head up and sniffs loudly twice. This strikes Helix Bane as odd, and perhaps even a little redundant, given the overpowering smell already suffusing the room. Alas, the figure seems to have a keen sense of smell, and detecting something, likely the scent of Helix Bane, withdraws from the entrance, backs silently away from the door, and begins to turn to creep away. Helix Bane doesn't waste time. Placing one hand at the top of the entrance door, she swings through it into the corridor, gathering momentum with the swing, so that when she lands, she hits the ground running, already in pursuit of the fleeing figure. She spots the creature, entering an awkward loping run. Helix Bane starts sprinting after it. The ooze is still sticking her to the ground, slowing her slightly, but she's still gaining quickly on the creature. The creature is covered in dense white and grey fur, and stands at least 7 foot tall, and facing away from Helix Bane, and covered in so much fur, that's all the detail she can see at present. Once more, it tilts its head up and sniffs the air. Once more, it detects something, likely the scent of Helix Bane. It starts to look over its shoulder as it continues its loping run. Helix Bane jumps onto the wall, sticking and running up and across while simultaneously running her hands along the ceiling to stabilize and support herself as she runs along the wall to avoid detection. It works. The creature doesn't immediately spot her, but a moment later, it jerks its head in Helix Bane's direction. A moment is all Helix Bane needs, and she throws herself at the creature's neck. The creature raises its hands and turns in a defensive maneuver, preparing to defend, then flee. But Helix Bane already has her hand wrapped around the creature's mouth, using her weight to drag the creature down to the ground, already releasing another toxin through the pores in her hands that are clamping the creature's mouth shut. They both hit the ground. Helix Bane manages to twist enough so that the creature cushions her fall. Nevertheless, her arm impacts the floor painfully, but isn't quite enough to be crushed or broken. The creature's body goes tense, ready to attempt to throw her off, but then all of a sudden, goes limp. The toxin entering the body as the creature breathes in and out. Helix Bane keeps her hand over the creature's mouth for a few moments more, just to be sure, before rolling back onto her own 2 feet. She checks herself for injuries, and seeing nothing life-threatening, she begins to drag the creature into a nearby room. She ties it up, then examines it. As before, furred, very large, and powerfully built. More curious are the extra joints in the arms, legs, spine, and neck. Ugly and deforming, but perhaps useful. Helix Bane finds no other identifying features. There's too much fur to make out the face. The creature will be out for a few hours at least, so Helix Bane heads back to the previous room to search for supplies and patch herself up. She finds water, and for Helix Bane, water is life, and a kind of drug. She opens the lid, almost frantically, with sudden urgency. She fumbles with the lid and eventually just tears it off. She gulps down 3 bottles, breathing hard, gasping with relief as the cool liquid washes down her throat, and then the pure, cleansing liquid makes its way through the rest of her body. Helix Bane knows she shouldn't, knows doing so will leave her vulnerable, but she can't resist. She pours the remaining water over her head. It falls and washes across her whole body, from head to toe. As it does, it washes away with it all tension, all pain, and all consciousness.